As Ajahn Lee once said, a person with intelligence takes whatever gets sent his or her way and makes something good out of it. This is the attitude you have got to adopt because we live a life full of the power of karma, old karma and new. You cannot do anything about old karma. You have to accept it like a good sport. That's why you practice equanimity. But as for the new karma you are creating right now, you cannot practice equanimity with that. You have to be very concerned about what you are putting into the system because you realize that this is the only chance you get to make the choice. Once the choice is made and it gets put into the system, then whatever the energy, positive or negative, that's the sort of energy you're going to have to experience. So pay attention. What are you putting into the system right now? This is the important thing to focus on. Whatever other people do to you, whatever arises in your body in terms of pains, illnesses, aging, death, or whatever, that's old karma that you simply have to learn to take with good humor, with a sense of equanimity. As for what you are putting into the system right now, that's serious business. That's where your attention and efforts should be focused. So the skills you pick up from the Buddha's teachings are not just techniques for silent meditation. They are skillful attitudes, skillful approaches you develop to what's important in life. You want to approach life as a skill, to realize that there is always the possibility of doing things skillfully. You may not have perfected it, but you don't beat yourself for not having the perfect response to every situation. You realize that there's always the opportunity to learn. You make mistakes, you learn from them. This is a normal part of life, and a wise way of living is to learn from your mistakes and resolve not to repeat them. Learn from what you have done. Notice when you do things correctly, notice when you make mistakes, and take that information to adjust your patterns of behavior. Some people come to the practice and say, well, this is the kind of person I am. I've just got to be this way. That attitude closes the door on the practice entirely. You start from where you are, but you have to be willing to change. If people couldn't change, if they had to stay the way they are, the Buddha's teaching would be in vain. There would be no reason to have the teachings because they are all about transformation. They are all about learning, developing, changing the way you approach life. From the Buddhist point of view, accepting yourself means not only admitting where you are, but also accepting that you have the potential to change. As your approach becomes more and more skillful, you're doing less and less harm to yourself, less harm to others, less harm to both. You find that you live in a way that brings more benefits for yourself, more benefits for others, more benefits for both. It may take more energy, more attention, but it's a much more worthwhile way of living. It's like being an expert carpenter. You have got various ways of approaching the problems that arise in the mind. You realize that there are all kinds of problems and there are many ways of dealing with them. If you just try one approach, it's like having a toolbox of nothing but saws. You can't build anything with that. You can't be called a decent carpenter at all. But when you realize that there are ways of dealing with different situations that arise, and through your own powers of observation, you discover which ways work for you, which ways get the right results for you. That's called having a full toolbox with a wide range of tools. And when you have those tools at hand, you can stay anywhere. You can stay in a monastery, you can stay in a hospital, you can stay at work, at home, in this country, in another country, this world, the next world, this life, the next. The tools stay with you once you have developed them. So focus on the practice as a way of collecting tools, developing skills, both in terms of techniques in the meditation and whole attitudes toward your life. That's the most worthwhile use of your time. Those are the best things to take with you when you go.